Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all are doing well.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. Let's see, Ms. Bridgewater, the SAP reset date, please.
January the 21st.
Okay, very good. Let's see, courtroom 2, whenever you're ready for me, let me know.
Ready, Your Honor.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We're offering you the assistance of public defenders this afternoon if you choose to utilize their services. Who do we have first?
We got position to send Ms.
Audio is bad. I did not hear position which.
Position. Ms. Stevens, I believe. Good afternoon, Ms. Stevens. You've been charged in case 25 CR 0000132A with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard? Good afternoon.
Hey, who are we starting with?
Position number 10, Ms. Stevens.
I got first arrest.
Yes, good afternoon, Ms. Allen.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thank you. This is an incident from the 6th at about 2:25 p.m. Police were called to 1305 North Avenue, Northwest. There they spoke to the victim, who is the mother of this defendant. She reported that the defendant grabbed her and threw her into a wall. This caused her to hit her head. She had visible injury on her forehead as a result of this. They lived together at the location. The police documentation indicates there's an MH issue. We spoke to Josie Stevens, Josie. Stevens is the same spelling. She's the mom. She reported that they got into an argument and the defendant grabbed her. She corroborated the information. She says that the defendant is compliant on her medication, but there may need to be some adjustments. She says this is not a typical issue, and that she's not in fear. So we're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, Your Honor. No violent contact, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons unless prescribed, and to stay medication compliant. And if you'd sound for Mrs. Stevens.
If Ms. Josie Stevens is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Any objection to any of the state's requests, Mr. McClain?
No, Your Honor, the state and our agreement on the diagnosis kind of stuff. So no objection.
Okay, for each charge, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further violent contact is Josie Stevens, and stay medication compliant. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Stevens.
Next, we will go to position number 2 on the add-on, Ms. Prince.
Good afternoon, Ms. Prince. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000139F with battery family violence, three counts, 2 counts of cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, and 1 count of battery against a female who is pregnant. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Prince, third arrest, 2013 battery DV, 2011 disorderly conduct.
Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from the 6th at about 7:08 p.m. Police were called to 1482 Talia Wood Circle. That's TALIA. Police were called about a dispute. On scene, the defendant actually spoke to police first. She said she'd had a verbal argument with her husband, Devin, and her sister. I believe Devin is her husband, Brittany. She asked her husband to leave the location and he refused to take the kids to the barber shop. She reported that he assaulted her and that her sister Brittany and her husband were using her to have a place to stay. The defendant did acknowledge that she'd been drinking. She said that she'd been trying to evict her husband Devin and her sister Brittany and Brittany's children since about August. Police spoke to Brittany Keglor, excuse me, Keglor, the sister of the defendant. Let's see. She reported that she was braiding one of her children's hair. Ashton Jordan, AJ are the initials. That's one of the victims of the cruelty in the third degree. The defendant came into the room where she was and assaulted her, yelled at her, grabbed her by her neck and strangled her, struck her and hit her in the neck and in the face. During that incident, the defendant also threatened to hurt or beat up a 14-year-old with the initials JM. Sister Brittany had a mark on her neck, redness to the side of her forehead as well. The child, 14-year-old JM, had red marks on the side of her neck as a result of being struck. Jordan Milton, the 14-year-old victim, corroborated what had happened in the room, said that there'd been a physical altercation, that his auntie, the defendant, had strangled and punched his mom, pushed his mom into the wall, and that mom had to fight back. Brittany, the victim and sister of the defendant, was 36 weeks pregnant when this happened. Police also spoke to the defendant's husband, Devin Price. He reported that the defendant had asked him to leave. As he was leaving, she asked him to take their children to get their haircut. He said no. And that's when she went upstairs and began yelling at her sister Brittany, banging on the bedroom door, telling her she needed to leave the house. Again, this is an attempt to evict wrongfully that resulted in violence. Two children, a 7-year-old and a 14-year-old, are the victims of the cruelty, Your Honor. We'd asked for a $6,000 SOB through pretrial, no contact with Brittany, and the last name is spelled, let me make sure I tell you this correctly, Keglor, and her children, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. We attempted to get in touch with both the listed Mr. Price and Brittany, the sister, today, and we're not successful. We'll continue in those efforts. Thank you.
All right, if Ms. Kilgore or Mr. Prince are on the line and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so.
Judge, that is not what happened. I called the police.
Okay, hold on, Ms. Prince. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. Let Mr. McLean speak on your behalf, ma'am. You'll have a chance to litigate this as we go further. This is just a bond hearing this afternoon, okay? So I don't want you to get yourself into more trouble than you already are. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, we agree with the state's recommendation. I did explain to Ms. Prince that if there was an eviction going on, or if one needed to be initiated, that ironic, perhaps in the eyes of many people, the court may wish to decide who lives where, whether it's fair or not, with who's paying what at the time. Your Honor, a little background on my client. She has 7 minor children, teacher, and she says those 2 prior arrests were dismissed. So we agree with the state on the signature bond, and it's kind of dicey on figuring out who to tell to go live where.
Okay, for each charge, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Mr. Devin Prince, state, or Miss Brittany Keglor. At this point in time, she's to stay away from the Talia Wood Circle address. She can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. If she is successful in evicting Mr. Prince and Miss Keglor, then she can certainly go back to her home if she properly evicts them. But for now, she'll have to gather her belongings with law enforcement and find someplace else to reside. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Next is Ms. Roundtree.
Say it again for me.
Roundtree, position 8.
Good afternoon, Ms. Roundtree. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000133J with simple battery, family violence, and simple battery. It's your history, Mr. Howard.
I got first.
Ms. Allen.
Your Honor, one moment. So this is an incident from the 6th at about 6:30 p.m. This happened at 6152 Roswell Road in Sandy Springs. This is the Mandolin Kitchen and Shisha Bar, so a restaurant. Police were called there on a domestic dispute. They on scene observed a Black female that they identified as Sanchez Jones, and the defendant arguing at the entrance of the business. They were separated and spoken to. Mr. Sanchez Jones, excuse me, he's a male, not a female, reported that he'd come to the location with the defendant and another individual, Mrs. Smith, to talk. They're all involved in a relationship. Mrs. Roundtree began acting disorderly, and because she was under the influence, he suspected that was part of the reason for her behavior. He wanted to leave the restaurant. He got up to pay the bill. After he got up to pay, the defendant in front of you slapped him in the face multiple times. He said he slapped her, and she kicked him in the back and in the face. He then held her, trying to restrain her. Mrs. Smith corroborated that statement, reported that she was afraid the defendant had been served excessively. Mr. Jones got up and paid the tab, and the defendant assaulted him, kicking and screaming, and was violent to the point that she had to be restrained. Mrs. Smith said she tried to intervene in the assault, and she was kicked in the face. Mr. Jones and Mrs. Roundtree share a child, and these people are in a relationship, and so that's the basis of the family violence, Your Honor. The defendant was obviously intoxicated. Employees inside the business reported seeing some of the altercations, said that the defendant was obviously intoxicated and cursing at the couple she was with. There was back and forth, and that Ms. Roundtree was the initial aggressor and started pushing Mr. Jones, and that started everything. Mrs. Smith had a cut to her left eye and a cut to her hand. Mr. Jones didn't have any visible injuries. The defendant had a scratch on the right side of her cheek, and she was arrested, Your Honor. Based on the fact that this is her first arrest, we're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. We spoke to both Mr. Jones and Mrs. Smith. They confirmed the information in the warrant. They said nothing like this has ever happened before. And so we're just asking for no violent contact and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Mr. Jones or Mr. Smith is on, Ms. Smith is on the line and wish to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Any objection to any of the state's requests, Mr. McLean?
It's me, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Ms. McLeod.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. We have no objection to the recommendations made by the state.
Okay. For the simple battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. That's for the simple battery family violence. For the simple battery, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 1. 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Jones or Ms. Smith, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Thank
Good
you, Your
luck to
Honor.
you. You're welcome. Good luck to you, Ms. Roundtree.
Next, we will go to position number 6, Ms. Nelson.
Good afternoon, Ms. Nelson. You've been charged in case 25 CR 0000129Y with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
I got first.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you. This is an incident from the 6th as well. At about 6 p.m., police were called to apartment 2313. That's at 5401 Old National Highway. They spoke to the victim. His name is Chance Lancaster. Chance is spelled Chanse per the documents we have. He reported that he'd been struck across the face by the defendant and that she'd slammed him into the refrigerator door, or rather slammed the refrigerator door into his head. He had bruising under his left eye, and he and the defendant lived together. When police got to the scene, a neighbor said that she'd heard crying and screaming and that there'd been an altercation next door, and she pointed police to apartment 2313. Police saw Chance Lancaster, the victim, walk across the hall, followed by a woman who was crying. They made contact. The defendant was seen sweeping up broken things inside the location. She was asked to come outside. She reported that there'd been a verbal altercation that escalated, and the victim had declined to accept her apology. She admitted that she struck him in the face and was the initial aggressor. And then she slammed the refrigerator door into his face. She reports that in response, he pushed her to the ground and she hit her head. We have spoken with Mr. Lancaster, that he reports that they're in a relationship and live there at the location, that they don't have any children. He confirmed what happened and said that this is the first time there's been an incident. We're asking for a $2,000 SOB3 pretrial, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, no violent contact, and a 1-day anger management or awareness course, please. If you'll sound for Mr. Lancaster, I think he's here.
Mr. Lancaster, if you're on the line and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. McLean?
No objection, Your Honor. Now, 2315 is their unit. 2313 is probably the neighbor where the police officer had to go report to, but no objection.
I apologize. So the correct unit is 2315.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. I do see a chat from Mr. Sanchez on the last case, just FYI.
Okay, for the battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the simple battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Lancaster, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Nelson. Ms. Kamani Nelson. I'm not sure who you are, Ms. Nelson. You've asked to speak. I've given.
It's Mr.
Well,
Sanchez. Oh, I'm
Oh.
sorry. There's another. That's two different people. I apologize, Your Honor.
no, you're fine. It's Jatana Cunningham. Okay, I see a message, but I don't see
Hello?
anyone appear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Judge.
Good afternoon, Ms. Cunningham. Let's
Good.
see. Wait, before you speak, how are you? Who are you in relation to what's going on here?
I'm Kimani Nelson's sister.
Okay, I've given Ms. Nelson a signature bond on this matter. This is just a bond hearing this today. If you have anything to say as in regards to the underlying issues, that can be done at a different time. Did you have any objection to the bond that I gave to your sister?
No, I'm all the way in Richmond, Virginia. She's in Atlanta. We're trying to figure out how do we get her back here,
Okay,
or if
well,
that's
you'll have to speak. You can speak to her attorney about that. I've given her a signature bond and she is going to be able to sign herself out. So you all can figure that out
okay.
at another time, okay?
Okay.
All
Okay.
right, thank you for being here, Ms. Cunningham.
Your Honor, if I can interject while she's on the line. If you'll wait about an hour and call 612-5215, I can pick up. 404-612-5215. Thanks.
Okay, who do we have next?
Position number 7, Mr. Pittman. Pittman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pittman. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000130H with criminal trespass and damage to property. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Third arrest. Last was on the 3rd of this month for trespass obstruction. 2023 theft by taker. Level 2.
Thank you, Your Honor. This
Yes,
is
Ms. Allen.
This is an incident from 995 Lyndhurst. That's Lynhurst, Lyndhurst Drive, Southwest. On the 6th of January at about 11:15 a.m., police were called there. The owner of that location, which is a residence, his name is Ellis Devine or Divine, Devine. He was on scene. He reported that he was the owner of the location. He owns a few different residences there in that neighborhood. He had spoken to his business partner who alerted him that there was an individual inside that residence and no one should be there. They're in the process of cleaning it out and prepping it. Mr. Devine said he went around to the rear of the residence and saw the defendant laying on a mattress inside the living room. He asked the defendant to leave. They engaged in a verbal argument and the defendant left out the back door of the residence at 995. As he was walking away and down the driveway, Mr. Ellis Devine was with his wife. He and his wife were outside. The defendant began picking up pebbles and small rocks and throwing it at them. The victim and his wife got into their vehicle and called 911 as the defendant continued to throw pebbles and throw it at the house and throw it in the yard. And at one point, he then picked up a larger rock and threw it at the vehicle, breaking a rear window. It's a truck. The defendant was on scene when police arrived. He denied that he had broken the window and he was placed under arrest. He's got a criminal trespass for damaging the vehicle and a criminal trespass for entry into a location where he shouldn't be. We're asking for a $4,000 surety, Your Honor, to stay away from that location and have no contact with Mr. Devine, and we'd ask for a social worker visit. We spoke to the victim today. He said that this is his residence, that there have been multiple instances there 3 different times before he called the police on the 6th that the defendant was on his property. He believes there's an MH issue and he's concerned for his safety and the safety of the defendant. He's asking for no contact and to stay away. And if you'd sound for him, Mr. Devine or Mr. Divine, thank you.
Okay, I believe Mr. Devine is on the line. If you wish to address the court, I'll need for you to activate your camera for me and I'll have to swear you in. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Judge, I don't know what's going on with people operating their cameras and stuff. I don't think he's hooked up to the mic. He has to speak. Okay.
Okay. All right. Pronounce your last name for me, sir.
My name is Elias, Elias Divine.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Devine. If you can raise your
Oh.
right hand for me.
Yes,
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do swear.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
I I just wanted to address the court in the manner of his mental health status in just the regard of the previous incidents. Last year, actually rented him quite a few bit of dollars in funds to get him a hotel or what have you. Just considering the fact that it was very cold outside, the impeding weather and such. But that was just after the just out of the sheer, you know, sheer love of my heart. But this has been a thing of repetitiveness, and he's now become habitual with his trespassing. So, if it would have pleased the court, I just wanted to make sure this incident wouldn't arrive again. My wife is still a bit hysterical from the incident yesterday. We did not report, the physical aspects of it, but the damages to the vehicle were very apparent. So, to that respect, we would just ask that he would have a no contact order granted for myself, my wife, and the property as well, at least until the court proceedings are over, or as an indefinite factor.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being here this afternoon.
Thank you.
Whose case is this?
My case, Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. McLeod.
Your Honor, I would ask the court to consider giving my client a signature bond so that he can get out of jail. As you probably have gleaned from what the alleged victim has said, they are not strangers to each other. And my client has indicated that he knew the alleged victim well and that he had permission, or at least thought that he had permission to be there. So my client has no significant criminal history, so I'm asking. Mr. Pittman, please do not speak. You have the right to remain silent. I'm going to speak for you. So I would ask the court to consider a signature bond for him. Nothing further, Your Honor. And we are okay with the no further contact and the stay away from the incident location.
Does he have a place to reside, Ms. McLeod?
He gave me an address, Your Honor, which is not this address.
Okay. For each charge, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. I want him to have a social worker visit to assess whether he needs a BHET. No further contact with Mr. Devine. Stay away from the Lyndhurst Drive address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Mr. Pittman, if you go back to that address, you're going to be in violation of this bond order, and they're going to revoke it and put a warrant out for you. Okay, so don't go back there, and you'll get your next court notice. Make sure that you attend that next court session. Otherwise, again, they'll put a warrant out for you. Okay. Good luck to you. Good luck to you, sir. Who do we have next?
We got a position number 2, Mr. Gresham.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gresham. You've been charged in case 25 CR 000135B with battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
14 total. 2015 burglary dismissed. 07 possession of a controlled substance.
Oh, no,
Level
that's
2.
not good. No, I've never had none of that.
Okay, hold on, Mr. Gresham. We'll see if we can sort it out.
Let's see what the state got.
Okay.
I have the same thing, Mr. Howard.
Go ahead, Mr. Howard.
2016 burglary, 2007 disorderly conduct conviction, 2007 purchase possession of controlled drug. But I do have 14 arrest cycles too. This incident happened on the 3rd of June, 2024. I have the incident location as 2489 Jonesboro Road, Southeast in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Melinda Pringle. She told officers that she was visiting the defendant to discuss a previous argument, and the discussion turned violent when the defendant punched the victim in the face, leaving visible injuries which were captured on the officer's body camera. The state's recommendation is a signature bond through pretrial services, no further contact with the victim, Melinda Pringle, anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I'm not asking for the stay away because it seems like this might be the defendant's residence as the victim was visiting him there. I can't hear you, Your Honor.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Kataya, this your case?
Kataya, Your Honor. Yes, this is my
Okay.
case, and
Good
we do not
afternoon.
object. Good afternoon, Your Honor. We do not object to the state's recommendation.
Okay. It'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 1. No further contact with the alleged victim. Stay away from the incident location. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Your Honor, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the defendant's location, did you say that, Ms. McConkey?
I'm not sure if it's his location or not, but the warrant did say the victim was visiting him there. If PD Chachaya could just confirm whether or not that's his residence.
The affidavit for arrest says Jonesboro Road, correct?
Yes, that Jonesboro Road Southeast was the incident location.
Yeah, that's the address I was given.
Okay, that's his residence?
Yes.
Okay, so no, we don't need to stay away, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Position number 4, Mr. Hinton.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hinton. You have been charged in case 25 CR 000138J with 2 counts of simple battery and 1 count of battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Well, I think you went to felony court earlier. 2023 suspended license, 2021 probation, 2020 battery DV conviction, probation violation from 2020, 2019, 2019 pimping NOLO, 2018 FTA, 2017 pimping conviction, sale of marijuana conviction, and sale of marijuana, possession of a firearm during the commission, first offender. That's it.
Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. I have that this incident happened on the 12th of December, 2024. The incident location was 3100 Godby Road in College Park. That is the Manchester Ridge Apartments, I believe. The victim in this case is Jasmine Battle. The victim told officers that the defendant became upset because the victim told him that his friend could not stay the night. As a result, the defendant pulled the victim off the bed, pulled her hair, and choked her in her bedroom. She provided officers with video footage that showed the defendant pushing her inside the apartment and also stating that he was going to punch her in the face. The victim also stated that the defendant took her phone and would not let her go out of the front door. The victim had a scratch to her nose and also a scratch on her neck. Our office has spoken with Ms. Battle, who confirms her and the defendant are no longer in a relationship. They do not live together and they share no children. She confirmed the events in the warrant, stated the defendant was intoxicated at the time, stated that she was on the floor and the defendant was on top of her with both hands around her neck. She said that the defendant had his hand around her neck for a few seconds, that his grip was about a 6, that she couldn't breathe and thought she was going to pass out. She said that she was terrified the defendant was trying to kill her. She did tell our office that she believes the defendant has issues with alcohol and needs treatment for his drinking, and that he turns into a different person when he drinks. She states that he did apologize after this incident, and she says that she is okay with no violent contact. The state's recommendation, given the very concerning allegations in this case, is a $3,000 surety bond. No further contact with the victim, stay away from the incident location, that he undergo an ADET or just at least have random screens for alcohol and drugs, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And I would ask the court to sound for the victim in this case, Ms. Jasmine Battle.
Good afternoon, Ms. Battle. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity. If you can raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
I would like to tell the court that although the incident was, of course, frightening, I do forgive him. I wanted to make it known that I don't think that jail time is appropriate. I think it's more so treatment for him. I've done all I can to assist him, and during that time, I know that the charges were picked up by the state. I do want to just make it known that I'm requesting for, of course, the no violent, but the other limitations I would want lifted, and if we could do a request for a signature bond, because I don't want to kick a person when they're down, because when he's not on alcohol and not on suspected drugs, he is actually a good person. He's a smart person, and he is a devoted father. The only issue that I've had was when he is on alcohol, he turns into a different person. And I will say this, I've given him grace because I was once in the shoes of being arrested myself, but because I turned my life around and I wanted change and I got the help, now I'm at the largest firm where I work. So I asked the court to also give him grace, and I've forgiven him, and I hope that that outcome can be presented as well. He does have my support, and my church family. If he needs that support, we are willing to assist as well, because I do forgive him, and I feel like everyone deserves another chance.
Okay, and what's your relationship to Mr. Hinton, Ms. Battle?
Ex-girlfriend.
Okay, and had this ever happened before?
To that extent, no.
Okay, you're not afraid of him?
No.
Okay, thank you for being here this afternoon. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Whose case is this?
It's mine, Your Honor.
Okay, yes.
We request pretrial services or alternatively the lowest bond possible for this case. Mr. Hinton is 29 years old. He has been a resident of Georgia his whole life. He has worked as a tattoo artist for the last 3 years, and he is currently in school taking courses in Atlanta Tech, an online school, and he's working toward a barber's license. And in addition to what we just heard from the victim, we think that pretrial services or the lowest bond possible would be appropriate.
Okay. For each of the simple batteries, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. For the battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3 makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. An ADET, no further violent contact with Ms. Battle, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Hinton.
Next, we go to one, Mr. Julian.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. Pronounce your last name for me, please.
Aguirre.
Good afternoon, sir. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000134E with theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
2022 suspended license. 2021, 2019 FTA. 2019 trespass conviction. 2017 FTA. He's wanted out of Barrow County Jail.
Cocky?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened December 17th, 2024. The incident location is the REI located at 1165 Perimeter Center West in Sandy Springs. The defendant is accused of stealing $460 worth of items from the incident location. The The theft was captured on surveillance cameras. The state's recommendation is for a signature bond. I'm not sure if he has a hold, but if he does, we would ask that he only be released to that hold. Stay away from the incident location. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Mr. Chikaya?
I have no objection, Your Honor.
Okay, it'll be a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from the REI. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we go to position number 1 on the add-on, Mr. Cooper.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cooper. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000140E with discharge of firearms on or near public highway or street. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
13, 2018 Semper Battery DV. That was dismissed. 2017 FTA. 09 Ag Assault First Offense.
Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. I also saw that he had a 2025 FTA. I wasn't sure if I heard that from pretrial. This incident happened at 534 Oliver Street Northwest in Atlanta. I have that's the Lindsay Street Park. Officers heard gunshots coming from the direction. Officers observed the defendant getting into his car and asked him if he knew or if he heard any gunshots, to which the defendant responded, "I can't even tell you," got in his car and then drove away. At the time officers spoke with the defendant, they did not know he was the one who had fired the gun. However, upon viewing city cameras, officers observed the defendant walking through the park, raising the gun into the air and firing a shot. The defendant is then seen walking to his vehicle and getting in his car. In the video, you can see the officer approach the defendant and then speak to him. He currently has a $10,000 surety bond. We asked that it remain the same. We asked for a stay away from that incident location, that he surrender all firearms, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while on bond. We tried to get this escalated to a felony because he has a previous aggravated assault possession of firearm conviction that he received that first offender on, but that request was denied.
Chataya, is this your case?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Cooper is 34 years old. He's lived in Atlanta his whole life. He has a GED, has consistently worked as a forklift operator for the past 3 to 4 years, and he is caring for children right now, the oldest one being 16 years old. Given those facts, we asked for the lowest bond possible or for pretrial services.
Okay. It'll be a $2,000 good bond. No, stay away from the park on Oliver Street. Relinquish all firearms. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Cooper.
All right, sir.
Position number 5, Mr. Johnson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Johnson. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000137D with simple battery and theft by taking. Is your history, Mr. Howard?
I got first.
Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred yesterday at the Covenant House, which is located, or near the Covenant House, which is located at 1660 Johnson Road in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Jace Cook, who was the defendant's roommate. The victim told officers that the incident began over a disagreement because the victim had used the defendant's vape without permission. The defendant then asked the victim to step outside so that they could fight, and the victim refused to do so. As the victim was walking at Westside Park later that morning, the defendant and some other males approached him and he started running, but he eventually fell to the ground as he was running away from the defendant and the other individuals. Upon falling, the defendant and the other individuals began punching the victim numerous times and also pulled off his backpack. Surveillance footage showed the victim running from about 4 people before he fell to the ground, and the defendant is seen swinging at the victim multiple times in that surveillance footage. The defendant is also seen picking up the victim's backpack. The victim told officers that his backpack was ransacked and his headphone and his charger were missing. Her office has spoken with Mr. Cook, who confirms him and the defendant were roommates at the shelter, the Covenant House. He confirmed the events in the warrant, stated the defendant took his phone charger and he never received it back, but he is now in possession of his headphones, which are unfortunately broken. He states this is the first time that the parties have had an altercation and that the defendant has since been kicked out of the shelter due to this incident. He, of course, wants no contact with the defendant. Given that this is Mr. Johnson's first arrest, the state's recommendation is a signature bond, stay away from that incident location, no further contact with the victim, at least 1 day of anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
If Mr. Jace Cook is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. Mr. McLean, any objections?
None, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, for the simple battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the theft, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with Jace Cook. Stay away from the Covenant House on Johnson Road. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Judge Morrow. This is gonna be position number 3, and also the ladies need to get their rights.
Okay, good afternoon, Francois. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, ladies. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We're providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their service. Ms. Hall, you have been charged in case 25 CR 000136E with battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
37. Open case out of Texas, assault, causing bodily injury, family member. Open case out of the cab, driving without a valid license. 2019 battery DV, simple battery DV that was dismissed. 2015 simple battery conviction. Another 2015, I got simple battery. 2013 simple battery conviction. 2014 probation FTA. 2019 probations and FTAs.
Okay, Ms. McConkey.
Yes, Your Honor. I also have that the defendant has some violent arrests out of the early 2000s, a 2002 ag assault, 2006 simple battery, simple assault, another 2006 simple battery, a 2010 battery, and a 2011 battery family violence. Those were all arrests. This incident happened on January 6, 2025. The incident location is 3181 Donnelly Hollowell, Atlanta. The victim in this case is Yasmin Harris. The defendant is accused of striking the victim repeatedly, causing a busted upper lip. The victim told officers that the defendant had entered the property, which I believe is a gas station both parties worked at, acting belligerent, and she began to argue with the victim, who told her to leave multiple times as she did not want any problems. The defendant continued to curse at the victim and put her fingers in the victim's face multiple times. The defendant then went to the opposite side of the cashier counter, where the victim once again approached her and asked her to leave due to her behavior. The defendant then began striking the victim in the face multiple times, at which point, in self-defense, the victim reached in her purse to draw her firearm in an effort to scare the defendant off. The firearm accidentally discharged. It wasn't pointed at the defendant or anyone else, but after it discharged, the defendant fled the scene. I will point out that the victim is about 4'11", and she weighs about 125 pounds, while the defendant is 6 feet and weighs about 215 pounds. Surveillance footage, as well as 2 witnesses, confirmed the victim's version of events. In the video, you can see the defendant striking the victim repeatedly, and you can see her pulling out the victim pulling out her gun and it going off, not being pointed at anyone. We have spoken with the victim in this case, Ms. Yasmin Harris, who states that her and the defendant are coworkers and that this is the first time she has had an encounter with a defendant like this. She confirmed that she did sustain a busted lip, and she is not sure if the defendant is still going to be allowed to work there after this incident. Given the defendant's lengthy criminal history, the state's recommendation is going to be for a $3,500 surety bond. She does have about a dozen violent arrests and or convictions. I do understand that some of those are from, a while back, but it does show that this defendant has a propensity for committing violent acts. So there is a concern that she will not only reoffend, but that she might be a danger to this victim and to the community as a whole. We are asking for a stay away from the incident location. I'm sure that she doesn't work there anymore. Anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And if you
Ms.
could
Harris. Okay, I see Ms. Harris on the line. Ms. Harris, if you would like to address the court, you certainly don't have to, but if you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I'll need for you to unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in. Okay, doesn't appear that she would like to address the court. Mr. Chitaya, is this your case?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Hall is 44 years old. She has been an Atlanta resident her whole life. She holds a GED, and she has been diagnosed with a mental health condition for which she is currently seeking treatment and taking medication. Given the facts, mainly the mental health condition and her lifelong residence in Atlanta, we ask for pretrial services or, in the alternative, the lowest available bond for this case.
Okay. Do you know if she still works at that Donnelly Holloway Parkway address? Did you hear my question?
I believe so.
We work in different departments. We don't even see each other. We see each other passing and going. So hopefully I still have my job. I don't know because I'm the only one got arrested.
Okay, all right. So I'm not going to keep you from working. But you just can't have any further contact with her. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be okay. It's going to be $1,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Harris. If you still have a job there, you can go back there for your job, but you're not to have any contact with Ms. Harris while you're there. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
I appreciate you so much.
All right. Good luck to you, Ms. Hall.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Number 9, Salter.
Good afternoon, Ms. Salter. Let's see, you've been charged in case 25 CR 000131F with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Second, 2018 marijuana. Dismiss.
Ms. Allen?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This case has a second count that was just filed down of battery family violence. So there's 2 counts, simple battery family violence and battery family violence. This is an incident that occurred on the 5th of January at about 10 minutes after 2 in the afternoon. The location is the residence of a family member of the defendant, I believe. It's 2672 Connolly Drive in East Point. Police were called. I believe the defendant actually called the police when she fled to a neighbor's house and asked to use the phone. There was an altercation between her and her husband. His name is Ravel Broussard. That's Rahvel. When police spoke with him on the scene, he reported that they'd argued because of the way she dealt with their nephew, Michael Broussard. She grabbed Michael Broussard by his head and shoved his head into the bed, trying to make him go to bed. That's a simple battery, Your Honor. In response, her husband, Ravel Broussard, intervened and told her she was being aggressive and that that's not how you handle a situation like this. And at that point, the defendant became upset with him and slapped him and struck him with her knee. He had to pin her down to stop her from repeated hitting him again. And this was witnessed by the two children there. There's an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old present. So you have two charges. The battery, Mr. Ravel sustained a scratch on his neck as a result of being struck by his wife. And Michael Broussard, the child, she grabbed his head and shoved it into the bed, Your Honor. We did speak with her husband today. We have not spoken with the child. There is some confusion about whether the child that she assaulted Michael is her biological child or her nephew. We're asking for an SOB, $2,000 SOB for free trial, no violent contact with Mr. Ravel Broussard, who she's married to. And if the child Michael is her nephew, no contact with him. If it's her son, no violent contact. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
Mr. Broussard, I see you on the line. It's the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. You'd have to unmute yourself, activate your camera for me.
Right. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Broussard.
It's not letting me open my camera for some reason.
Okay, let's see if we can have somebody try to
Gonna have
enable.
to check his settings and make sure he has to allow his camera to activate. You have to let your phone to allow it. You have to
Yeah, that's what it said. And
give it permission. You have to give it permission, sir, in order for it to open. It's not controlled by me.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Hold on, give me a. Goodness. Host is gonna start my video. Yeah, it's hold on. Yeah, it's not really. I don't see where that's at. I don't see the option to, and I don't see. Hold on, camera.
You have to go to
Allow. Hold on. I think that's it. Hold on 1 second. That should be it. It's not. Yeah, it's really kind of confusing actually, because it's not. I just can I
So
just say what I
Mr.
wanted to say real quick?
No, sir, I can't allow you to speak if I can't see you. But the state is recommending that no further violent contact. I take it that you're in agreement with that. Is that right?
Man, I spoke with somebody from the solicitor's office yesterday, and I told
Okay,
them
just
that
answer my question, yes or no. Do you want contact?
yes, I just
Okay.
wanted to say that they messed up all of that, which y'all just read was
Okay, well,
incorrect.
I'm happy to hear you say that, but since I can't see you, then I'm gonna allow you to testify, okay? But I'm gonna allow you to have contact, okay?
This is okay. All right.
All right, thank you, Mr. Broussard. Ms. McLeod, any
That is
objections?
crazy. This is
Yes, Your Honor. I just want to say that my client was the one who called 911 because her phone was taken away from her, and she alleges that she was the victim in this particular exchange. But we are okay with the signature bond through pretrial. They do not live together, according to my client.
Okay, so your client doesn't want contact?
I think she's okay with no violent contact because there's a child, but they do not live together. She has a completely different address, which is not in Fulton County. It is in Jefferson County.
Okay.
Can we get clarification about the name of the defendant's child so that we can order contact or no contact or address that?
Was the child her nephew or her
They share a very young child, so the 13-year-old child will not be her child.
We'd ask for no contact with Michael Broussard as well. That's the 11-year-old nephew that was shoved.
Okay.
My client is only 29 years old. That child, she only has one child, and that child, I believe, is just a year old.
Okay, so there shouldn't be a problem with her not having contact with her nephew at this time.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. For the simple battery, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the battery family violence, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further violent contact with Mr. Broussard. No further contact with the minor child, Michael Broussard. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
And we'd request that there be a stay away on that location. If she's not living there, that's the house where Mr. Rouvel Broussard is staying with the nephews and his brother.
Okay, so that's the Conley Drive address. Does she have any reason to go back to that address?
Yes,
Ms.
Your Honor,
McLeod?
she needs to go back there to get her child. Apparently has a child, and she would like to police escort to go back there to get her child.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So a one-time escort with law enforcement to retrieve the child or any belongings. Okay,
Thank you, Your Honor.
you're welcome. Good luck to you, Ms. Salter.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Your Honor, can you repeat the bond amount for position number 1 on the add-on?
Okay, it was a $2,000 good bond for Mr. Cooper. That's who you needed?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, $2,000 good. Okay, anything further, Francois, courtroom 2?
No, that's it. Thank you, Judge. Have a good one.
Do the same. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Ms. Bridgewater.
Yes, Your Honor. Once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is January the 21st. On the regular calendar, first position is reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through the jail. Position 2 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 3 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. 4 is reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 5, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 6, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 7, reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 8, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 9 is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial, and we added an additional battery charge. Position 10 is reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial. Now to the add-on calendar. Position number 1 is going to the SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond, and position 2 is reset further notice with a total $6,000 SOB through pretrial. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
What was that level for Prince?
Prince is level 1.
What now?
Level 1.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, if not, thank you all. You have a good rest of your day. We'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you, Your Honor.